Ferrari have quietly delivered one of the most consequential revelations ahead of the 2026 regulation reset. And it is not centered on a single upgrade or headline-grabbing innovation, but is emerging instead is a deeply interconnected redesign of how the Ferrari Formula One car is conceived, driven, and exploited over a lap. These new details point to a team that has accepted the scale of the challenge ahead and has chosen to respond by re-engineering fundamentals rather than chasing surface-level gains. This is not evolution. It is a reset driven by necessity, pressure, and an unfiltered understanding of where Ferrari failed in recent seasons. At the heart of this transformation is the realization that the 2026 regulations fundamentally change the relationship between the driver and the car. With active aerodynamics, a 50% electrical power split, and complex energy deployment rules, the driver is no longer simply extracting performance, but actively managing it in real time. Ferrari recognized early that this would overwhelm traditional cockpit layouts, and as a result, the team made the bold decision to completely rethink one of the most sacred components of the car, the steering wheel. Often referred to as the driver's office, the steering wheel has historically evolved incrementally. Ferrari, however, understood that incremental change would not be sufficient. Under the new rules, drivers will be required to activate low drag modes manually on every straight, manage energy recovery and deployment almost sector by sector, and adapt to rapidly shifting aerodynamic states. This frequency of interaction would have created unacceptable cognitive load if addressed with legacy layouts. Ferrari's solution was to simplify interaction without reducing control. Rather than increasing the number of switches or layers of functionality, they consolidated them. Energy deployment harvesting strategies and electronic modes have been grouped into three primary rotary controls positioned directly beneath the central display. This layout was chosen to minimize hand movement and decision time, allowing drivers to make adjustments instinctively rather than consciously. Central display itself has been refined to prioritize immediacy over density. Ferrari have resisted the temptation to flood the screen with information, instead focusing on a hierarchy of data that reflects what drivers actually need during critical moments. Gear selection, energy availability, and tire temperature trends remain visible while secondary metrics have been removed or relocated. The philosophy is clear: information must support performance, not distract from it. Ergonomics have also been reworked at a structural level. The new steering wheel is physically smaller with a reduced lower section that improves visibility and allows more aggressive hand positioning during high-speed transitions. This change was not cosmetic. Simulator testing revealed that even minor ergonomic inefficiencies compound under the constant mode switching required in 2026. Both Hamilton and Charles Leclerc were heavily involved in refining these details, pushing Ferrari to prioritize usability under stress. Importantly, Ferrari do not view this steering wheel as a finished product. The design will continue to evolve through pre-season testing as real-world data replaces simulation assumptions. This willingness to delay finalization reflects a broader shift in Ferrari's development culture, one that favors adaptability over premature commitment. Beyond the cockpit, Ferrari have taken equally bold steps with the power unit. While much attention has focused on Mercedes' compression strategies, Ferrari have pursued a fundamentally different path. The decision to use steel alloy engine cylinders instead of aluminum represents a high-risk, high-reward approach rooted in material science rather than regulatory interpretation. Steel is heavier, but it offers superior resistance to extreme temperatures and combustion pressures. Ferrari believed this allows a wider and more stable operating window, particularly important under the new sustainable fuel requirements and increased electrical integration. Rather than chasing fragile peak outputs, Ferrari are prioritizing reliability margins that allow sustained performance development across the season. This decision ties directly into Ferrari's broader emphasis on efficiency. Under the guidance of Wasera, the team are shifting away from pure power as the defining metric. Instead, they are focusing on how energy is delivered, recovered, and redeployed throughout a lap. In 2026, outright horsepower means little if energy cannot be strategically deployed where it matters most. Energy management is expected to be one of the defining battlegrounds of the new era. Ferrari's new car details suggest a system designed to give drivers more flexibility in how they deploy electrical power, rather than locking them into rigid profiles. This flexibility allows adaptation to traffic, tire degradation, and race scenarios, turning the driver into an active strategist rather than a passive operator. Suspension design represents another major area of change. Ferrari are placing heavy emphasis on front suspension flexibility, particularly controlled deformation that remains within FIA regulations. This is not about compliance or comfort. It is about maintaining consistent tire contact and predictable load transfer, areas where Ferrari struggled significantly in 2025. Both Hamilton and Leclerc reported a lack of confidence in the front end of last year's car, especially on corner entry. Ferrari's revised suspension philosophy aims to restore that confidence by stabilizing the aerodynamic platform and giving drivers clearer feedback. In modern Formula One, confidence at turn-in often separates elite performance from compromise. Reports suggest Ferrari's suspension concept has already been deemed compliant despite exploiting subtle regulatory allowances. If this interpretation holds, it could offer Ferrari a meaningful advantage, particularly if rivals are slower to adopt similarly aggressive solutions. Ferrari have also restructured how aerodynamic decisions are validated internally, introducing a tighter correlation loop between CFD, wind tunnel data, and on-track feedback. One of the key failures of recent seasons was committing to aerodynamic directions too early, only to discover mismatches once the car ran at race-side heights. For 2026, Ferrari have changed this workflow so that no major Aero concept is locked in without multi-stage validation across different operating windows, including extreme energy deployment scenarios. Another significant change lies in how Ferrari are managing active aerodynamics. Unlike previous eras where aero performance was largely passive and setup-driven, the 2026 car requires constant interaction between aerodynamic states and power delivery. Ferrari have developed new internal software layers that synchronize active aero behavior with energy deployment maps, ensuring that drag reduction and electrical output are aligned rather than competing with each other. This integration reduces inefficiencies that could otherwise cost lap time on every straight. Ferrari have also revised their cooling philosophy beyond simple radiator size reduction. The team is experimenting with variable cooling efficiency strategies that adapt to different race phases. Instead of designing cooling purely for peak thermal loads, Ferrari are optimizing airflow management, so cooling demand scales dynamically with energy usage. This allows tighter bodywork without compromising reliability, particularly during high deployment phases late in races. Weight distribution has become another focal point of Ferrari's redesign, with heavier power units and batteries mandated for 2026. Ferrari are actively reshaping internal mass placement to maintain balance without relying on ballast. This includes relocating auxiliary systems and revising how hybrid components are packaged within the survival cell. The aim is to preserve rotation and responsiveness despite the overall increase in car mass. Ferrari have also overhauled their approach to brake-by-wire calibration. Under the new regulations, braking is more tightly linked to energy recovery than ever before. Ferrari struggled in previous seasons to deliver consistent brake feel across varying energy states. For 2026, the brake-by-wire system has been redesigned to provide a more linear and predictable pedal response regardless of MGUK harvesting intensity. This directly addresses driver complaints from 2025. Tire management has received renewed attention as well. Ferrari are developing suspension kinematics and load distribution strategies specifically to protect the Pirelli tires under the new aerodynamic load profiles. The objective is not just peak grip, but consistency across long stints, something Ferrari lacked when operating outside narrow setup windows in recent years. Operationally, Ferrari have changed how driver feedback is processed. Instead of filtering comments through multiple departments, Hamilton and LLC now feed directly into cross-functional review groups that include Aero vehicle dynamics and power unit engineers simultaneously. This reduces interpretation loss and accelerates response time when issues are identified. Ferrari have also introduced a more modular development philosophy. Major systems such as suspension elements, cooling assemblies, and aerosurfaces are being designed with faster interchangeability in mind. This allows Ferrari to test alternative concepts without redesigning entire subsystems, a flexibility that will be crucial during the first races of a regulation reset. Another quiet but important change is Ferrari's revised risk management strategy. Inspired in part by McLaren's recent resurgence, Ferrari are explicitly categorizing innovations by risk level and development cost. High-risk ideas are being trialed early when they can still be abandoned, while low-risk gains are scheduled later for refinement. This avoids the all-Oro gambles that have previously compromised seasons. What is striking is how these elements are not being developed in isolation. Ferrari are integrating cockpit design, power unit architecture, suspension philosophy, and aerodynamic efficiency into a single conceptual framework. This systems-based approach has long been a strength of championship-winning teams and represents a clear departure from Ferrari's historically fragmented development cycles. Lewis Hamilton's influence is evident throughout this process. His experience at Mercedes exposed him to highly integrated development structures, and his feedback has reportedly pushed Ferrari to question long-established habits. While his first season was difficult, the 2026 project reflects a team increasingly receptive to his perspective. Charles Leclerc's role is equally critical. As Ferrari's long-term reference point, his understanding of the team's processes provides continuity. Combination of Hamilton's external insight and internal experience is shaping a car that aims to be both innovative and intuitive. Ferrari are under no illusions about the risks involved. Steel components add weight. Flexible suspension concepts invite scrutiny. Radical cockpit redesigns can backfire, but Ferrari understand that caution alone will not close the gap to rivals who are equally well-resourced and increasingly aggressive. These new car details matter precisely because they are foundational. They redefine how the car is driven, how performance is accessed, and how development decisions are made. Each choice reinforces the next, creating either a coherent system or a fragile one. If Ferrari succeed, the benefits will extend beyond lap time. Drivers will trust the car, engineers will work with cleaner data, strategists will gain options. In the modern era, that integration is often the difference between championships and frustration. There are no guarantees. Bold ideas can fail, but what Ferrari have revealed is intent and clarity. They are no longer reacting to problems, they are proactively reshaping their approach to the sport's most radical reset. That is why these new car details are genuinely capable of changing everything for 2026. Not because they are dramatic, but because they represent a Ferrari willing to rethink fundamentals. And in Formula One, that mindset is often the true competitive edge.